So most people never think about ServPro until they need them. And hopefully you don't, because they're known for doing things like showing up after a flood or a fire, or if you have mold in your home. But can that sort of business, can that be the business that creates serious revenue for their franchise owners? Well, in this video, we are going to break down ServPro. We're going to talk about how much money the franchisees are making, what are the startup costs, and if this could potentially be a good investment for you. They're currently ranked at number 15 on the Franchise 500 list as of the making of this video. So let's break it down and see if they are deserving of that spot. If you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I am the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, where we have helped hundreds of people find, vet, and launch proven money-making franchises. So before we dive into some of the numbers around how much money the franchisees are making, what the startup costs are, and all of that good stuff, well, let's talk about the brand. In 1967, ServPro was started by Ted and Doris Isaacson in Sacramento, California, as a small painting business. Very interesting. I got a quick story around that. They soon pivoted to cleaning and restoration, and by 1969 began franchising their first ServPro location. So they started franchising 2 years after their business was up and open. What's funny is I had a friend of mine who started a fire and water restoration business from scratch. Now, he did not franchise it. He wound up selling that company to private equity for a pretty good amount of money. But he actually started out doing cleaning, tile and carpet cleaning first, and then was like, okay, where's the money in this business? Like, where can I have a higher average ticket and have a higher revenue potential? And he learned and they pivoted to the fire and water restoration model. So it's interesting to hear that that's actually how ServPro got started. And just a quick lesson before we dive into the rest of the video, like for me, when I hear something like that, I go, aha, very interesting. You hear all these stories about founders and entrepreneurs who start a business thinking they're going to do the business this way, and then they wind up pivoting and they wind up doing it another way. And I think sometimes when entrepreneurs get in trouble is when they get super fixed on just doing it the same way and not pivoting their business, and then they kind of get left behind. That actually happened to us here at Franchise Empire. We had one manner in which we were focused on helping franchise buyers. Initially, it was creating courses and trainings for people to go out there and find the franchise on their own and just use our tools. And what we found is that, number one, people were getting super stuck trying to find it on their own. Number two, when left to their own devices, they were trying to go find terrible franchises that were really bad, that did not have a proven track record of happy and profitable franchisees. So we pivoted our model to more of a brokerage model where we're actually doing the finding for people. We actually created criteria for franchise brands. Anyways, I totally digressed, and we don't usually do that in this video, but I thought it was a really interesting thing to point out, and hopefully you got value from that tangent. Back to the facts. So after they started franchising, massive expansion followed, which happens for a lot of businesses that do wind up franchising that have a solid model with great economics. But by 1979, they acquired 175 domestic-care franchises, which is very interesting. What you'll learn sometimes is that some of the biggest companies grow by acquisition. They just buy another company or they merge. It happens with so many of the bigger companies. So if you're thinking about, hey, how could I potentially 10x my business? Well, maybe you don't have to go spend 10 times the amount of money on marketing. Maybe you just go and acquire another company. So by 1988, they grew to 647 locations. And then they wind up having to relocate their headquarters because of that to Tennessee. Now, they have a recession-resistant model, right? If you have fire occur in your home, if you have flooding or a pipe burst or water damage or mold, most of the time those things are going to be covered by your insurance, or it's going to be an insurance claim. So it doesn't matter really what's going on in the economy or if people want to spend money or so on and so forth. Like, they can just file an insurance claim. They're going to do it. As an example, I had a chip in my windshield. My wife did too. I learned that in Florida, their insurance companies are required to not charge a deductible to replace your windshield. Did you know that? And technically, they can't raise your rates because of those claims either. I feel like they would just raise your rates for a different reason. And anyways, but very interesting, right? So they're ranked number 1 in restoration by Entrepreneur Magazine. Can you guess for how many straight years? Drop a comment in below at the end of the video I'll answer this trivia. And they're ranked number 15 in the Franchise 500 overall, which I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So their business model, they have a large-scale disaster response. ServPro responds and helps with FEMA-level disasters like Katrina and Sandy and regional storm events. And there are a lot of other franchises in this space that do that as well. The company runs a 140,000 square foot training and distribution center by their headquarters, and so new owners complete 15 days of hands-on training at ServPro's training center, including water, fire, and mold remediation certifications. So again, one of the benefits of a franchise system, right? If you went out and said, hey, I think there's a lot of money in the fire and water restoration space, and I want to go out there and start my own business, well, you probably would have no idea what you're doing. And now, although you could potentially go find and hire someone that knows that business inside and out, or you could buy a franchise and get top-notch training and then still hire people to do the work, but at least you know how it's supposed to be done at that point. All right, so in terms of units open, how many locations do they have open? They have more than 2,310 units open between the US and Canada, which is that's significant. That's a lot of locations. All right, startup costs. So how much does it cost to get one of these bad boys up and open? The initial investment between $258,000 to $379,000, and that does include the franchise fee of $49,000. There are all sorts of other costs that are included in that, like equipment and supplies and getting your licenses, all that good stuff. In terms of royalties, the royalty ranges from 10% down to 3% depending upon the amount of sales that you're producing, and there is a 3% monthly marketing fee. Now, if you like videos like this where you get to shortcut getting the answers and the numbers to some of these franchises, then I created a gift for you. It's called our 42 high-performing franchises. So these are 42 franchises that we have determined to produce a significant amount of sales and have a proven business model and actually have territory availability, because good luck getting a ServPro, guys. They have 2,300 locations open in the US and Canada. There's really not going to be much, if any, open territory availability at all. So the purpose of the 42 high-performing franchises is to show you options that potentially do. So we'll leave the link down below in the description and in the comments if you want to go grab the 42 high-performing franchises for free. Well, I've got some bad news for you, ladies and gentlemen. I was disappointed as well. I know. ServPro, in their FDD, they don't disclose any sort of sales numbers or average sales, which is crazy. And so, but here's what we do know, and looking at the franchisors' financials that are required to be in the FDD. In 2024, they had $248 million in franchise license revenue, $73 million from product and equipment sales, $67 million from their brand enhancement fund revenue. So pretty interesting. They did open 84 new units in 2024. So somewhere, somehow, there's some sort of territory availability, but not much. In terms of the trivia, if you guessed 22 years of ServPro being ranked number one, then you guessed right. They have been ranked number one in the restoration spot for 22 years, which is kind of crazy. And it just shows like being first or close to first helps, guys. I mean, when we look back, they started in 1967. They started franchising in 1969. So it just shows you, what's the lesson? Don't wait. Whatever that idea is and whatever it is that you want to rock and roll on, like start sooner than later, because someone will beat you to the punch and they'll get a head start. So if you want to watch more videos like this, where we break down some of the top franchises ranked on the Franchise 500 list by Entrepreneur, then click this playlist here and you'll get to see all of the different videos that we have created and reviewed. Make sure to subscribe before you go. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.